YouTube has an anti-hate speech policy. Most of us agree that it's perfectly reasonable to ban speech that calls for violence against some group based on race or religion, but there are two problems with the current hate speech policies. One, the morons who enforce these policies have been trained to think that anything they disagree with is hate speech, so they end up using hate speech policies for their own personal political agendas. And two, these policies are enforced selectively, meaning that if you're from a particular group, your hate speech may be protected by YouTube. In other words, if a white supremacist group promotes hate speech against Jews, the white supremacist group will be banned by the YouTube Trust and Safety team. But if Islam promotes hate speech against Jews, Islam will be protected by the same Trust and Safety team. Let's look at an example, and we'll see how this works. Surah 5, verse 82 of the Quran. Certainly you will find the most violent of people in enmity for those who believe to be the Jews and those who are polytheists. And you will certainly find the nearest in friendship to those who believe to be those who say, we are Christians. This is because there are priests and monks among them, and because they do not behave proudly. According to this verse, Jews and polytheists are the ultimate enemies of Muslims, but Christians are the best friends of Muslims. When Muhammad began preaching in Mecca, he basically said, it's Muslims and Jews and Christians united against the polytheists. Then he went to Medina, and the Jews rejected him. So then his message became, it's Muslims and Christians against Jews and polytheists. Then the Christians rejected him, and his message became, it's Muslims against everyone. So Surah 5, verse 82 is from the period when Muhammad thought that Christians were going to accept him as a prophet. Funny how Allah's eternal revelations about Jews and Christians change based on how Muhammad feels about them. Now, what are Muslims supposed to do about their enemies, the Jews, according to Muhammad? Sahih Muslim 7339. It was narrated that Abu Hurairah said, the Messenger of Allah said, the hour will not begin until the Muslims fight the Jews, and the Muslims will kill them, until a Jew hides behind a rock or a tree, and the rock or tree will say, O Muslim, O slave of Allah, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. Except the Garkad, a thorny tree, for it is one of the trees of the Jews. According to Muhammad, Islam is moving towards a final showdown with the Jews. In this final showdown, Muslims will exterminate the Jews. Jews will try hiding behind rocks and trees, but the rocks and trees will tell the Muslims, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Come, kill him. Except the Garkad tree. According to Muhammad, some trees are loyal to the Jews and won't snitch on them. Keep in mind, this is the same so-called prophet who delivered the Quran. Now, these kinds of teachings are dangerous. If you believe that your group is getting bigger and stronger so that you can eventually go out and exterminate another group, there's a good chance that this is going to lead to a future bloodbath. What do we do when we face ideas that will produce bloodbaths? Lots of things, but one of the things we do is subject the ideas to criticism and mockery. We try to show that the ideas are false and that they're stupid. In other words, whenever possible, we try to use peaceful means to undermine dangerous ideas. But this is where the trust and safety teams end up defending hate speech. You see, if you criticize or mock the Quran's claim that the Jews are the ultimate enemies of Muslims, if you criticize or mock Muhammad's claim that Muslims are supposed to exterminate the Jews, YouTube accuses you of hate speech. It's hate speech against Islam to criticize what Islam says about Jews. Those of you who follow Vocab Malone's channel saw how this works recently. Vocab has been posting a special edition of Islamicize Me. In case you're new to this channel, back in 2018, we made a series called Islamicize Me. The series was loosely based on a true story. Vocab knew a young man who converted to Islam and then died in a terrorist attack. This young man was a pretty nice guy who was radicalized very rapidly by Islam. So we made a series showing how the process of radicalization works. We show how someone could go from totally normal to violent terrorist in 30 days. In this series, Vocab Malone, John McCrae, and I play 3 atheists who convert to Islam and become progressively more violent and radical due to the teachings we're absorbing. On day 23 of Islamicize Me, we deal with Islam's claims about the Jews. Now, the joke of the day 23 episode is that our characters find out that they're supposed to confront the Jews, so they decide to confront the Jews on a public sidewalk. But when they go looking for Jews, they find the black Hebrew Israelites who claim to be the true Jews. The black Hebrew Israelites view modern Jews as imposters who stole their identity, so we end up making fun of both groups. And by the way, in episode 23, we actually rolled up on a group of real black Hebrew Israelites while we were dressed as Muslims. We tried to have a debate with them, but they totally punked out. When I posted day 23 on my channel 2 years ago, YouTube removed the video as hate speech. I appealed the decision and I won. YouTube restored the video. But YouTube has grown more and more hostile towards criticism of Islam since then. So more recently, when Vocab posted the special edition of the same video, YouTube again removed the video and called it hate speech. But when Vocab appealed the takedown, his appeal was rejected. Vocab now has a hate speech strike for making fun of Islam's claims about Jews. Now, I can understand YouTube taking down a video by mistake. Our characters in the video say that they're going to expose the Jews in this public debate. I can understand YouTube mistakenly thinking that we were being serious and taking the video down. But then you get to appeal and you say, this is not us promoting hate speech. This is us making fun of hate speech. This is satire. We're mocking hate speech. But then they reject the appeal because the hate speech we're mocking is part of Islam. So you can make fun of anti-Semitic hate speech on YouTube unless the anti-Semitic hate speech comes from Muhammad and the Quran, in which case you're not allowed to make fun of it. YouTube will ban your video as hate speech and give your channel a strike for making fun of Muhammad's claims about Jews. Vocab actually handled this pretty well. After his appeal was rejected, he posted the Day 23 Snowflake edition, in which he heavily censored everything in the video that could be considered hate speech by some moron on the YouTube Trust and Safety team. All of the censorship kind of makes the episode even funnier. Anyway, that's the latest on YouTube protecting hate speech. YouTube is heading in the wrong direction here. In the comments, I'd like those of you who've seen both versions of Day 23 to tell me what you think. The original is on my channel. Again, it was originally banned, but I won my appeal. YouTube is less tolerant with criticism of Islam now, so when Vocab posted the special edition, it was banned and he lost his appeal. So he posted the heavily censored Snowflake edition. For those of you who watched both versions, do you think it's actually funnier with the censorship? Let me know what you think. For those of you who haven't seen them, now's your chance to watch both versions. What could be more awesome than a group of Christians dressed up as Muslims confronting a real camp of black Hebrew Israelites in order to peacefully expose some very dangerous ideas?